Quick, name a video game or a video game console. Most people probably will, but I know there is the occasional person that doesn't know very much. And that's what the point of this speech is today, is to educate those who are not very aware of video games and their effect on culture. And it is also for those that maybe want to learn a little bit more trivia on the subject. I feel that I am credible on this subject because I have a lot of video games and have played lots of video games throughout this the era from different generations of the games. This speech will have three topics. The first is the generations of the consoles. The second one would be the crash that happened in the market in 1983, and then the third topic is the bit wars. The first topic, which is the generations, is a generation is the time frame that a console was prominent before a new one took its place. And that is defined as the BBC Archive website says. And they also give basically a rundown of each generation. I believe there is 7 and we are in the 8th one. A notable generation would be with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Those were two very popular consoles, and they had both very different selling points, and they were at each other's necks throughout their whole lifetime until they were taken over by the next generation. And secondly, on this speech is the market crash of 1983. And this was when the demand for video games is basically dropped. And there was nobody that really wanted to play them anymore. There was no demand. So they basically were junk. And according to a website of Bugsplat, they gave a statistic that between 1983 and 1985, the market share of video games dropped to 97% in those 2 years. A few games that were the root of the crash were Pac-Man on Atari 2600 and E.T. And E.T. is considered the killing blow by many. Lastly is the bit wars between the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. And there is a good video on YouTube by this channel of Cinemassacre Plays, and if you go to the 16-minute, 20-second mark, they'll talk about a specific chip on the Super Nintendo board that gives it a fair advantage in terms of graphics against the Sega Genesis, which basically gives the Super Nintendo 3D graphics in a time of the 16-bit era. The Sega Genesis did not have that very well. They had to use a whole different peripheral device that cost extra money to be able to achieve something close to what the Super Nintendo could do. And in conclusion, hopefully you guys are more knowledgeable on this subject, or you learned a little bit of trivia. And basically the speech went over generations, the crash of '83, and the bit wars.